The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ArtofWar5 to get a discount on your next order. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Art of War. We are going to be talking about some of the major trends happening in January 25 as we talk about the meta and all the amazing changes from Grotmiss, the balanced data slate. There's a new Guard Codex, Eldar is coming out. The meta is going to be completely open and up in the air, and we're going to do some analysis of it.
That's right. So we're talking about where things are end of January and heading into Eldar spring. Eldar winter.
Yeah, it's an Eldar winter for some of us, but we'll see on that. If you are joining us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know what you're feeling about the meta. What's kind of surprising you in your local meta? What's doing really well? What might not be doing as well as you might think? And we'd love to hear from you. In addition, if you want more content from us, like more competitive battle reports with some of these new armies, these new detachments, new list archetypes, we'll head over to the War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and in addition, you get access to content for every single army in the game, and also access to our Discord community.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to having you there.
We'd love to have you. All right. So, without further ado, which event should we start with here,
Let's go chronologically. So let's start with Nottingham 40k Super Major in England. We are relying here, of course, on 40k Meta Monday. They do amazing work. It's JCMS, I believe, 85 on Reddit. They have their own website where they collate all the information from tournaments. It's the
work of a hero.
It is. All right, so Nottingham Super Major, 375 players. It had a 5-round and then a cut to top 4. Undefeated players were left out of the top 4. I personally don't like that format. I think if you don't lose a game, you should
still be in it.
You should still be in it. Doesn't mean you have to have more rounds, but they went off of who had the most points. So the top 4 players absolutely, wrecked their opponents and got into the top 4. And in there we see a Chaos Demons list, the Slaanesh Chaos Demons list, and ended up winning, Will Whitaker. We had Blood Angel Liberator Assault Group under Innes Wilson. We displayed Space Marines Gladius Task Force, very gun-heavy, Ultramarine, under Josh Roberts. And then Nassim Fouchain playing Bridgehead Strike Guard. I mean, those are, 4 very good players, so I'd expect to see them in the top 4. And we see 4 very powerful, very different list archetypes. We've got Bridgehead Strike, which is an incredibly powerful guard detachment based around teleporting Scions 6 inches away and doing way too much damage.
And this is before the Codex release, and so they haven't... In this event, the rule for Scions hasn't switched from the reroll hits to the reroll wounds. So when you combine +1 to wound, reroll wounds, and all the nasty things that they're already doing, usually hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, so I don't know if they'll be rerolling 1s in the new book, but to hit?
They do, from Bridgehead.
Fantastic. Right, I forgot they just staple that onto every unit. And they're going to be hitting on 2s with extra rapid fire because they get 2 orders. So you hand them 1 order for +1 ballistic skill, and then you hand them another order for +1 shot to their rapid fire weapons, and they shoot you hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding at worst on 4s, rerolling all. And you're going to die really fast.
I got sustained in there.
Yeah, it's gross, and you're going to need to put infiltrators in your Space Marine list. What do you want from me? The more infiltrators you have, the better you're going to do. And, you're going to see that.
So because the Guard Codex hasn't released individually yet, I don't think we're starting to see any of the events, populate with those type of lists. But I expect Guard's win rate, at least the Bridgehead one, to continue to increase once those rules are fully active in the tournament scene, because the swap from reroll hits to reroll wounds is just a ludicrous damage increase.
It is. That list is about to become really stupid, and it's already a menace.
Yeah.
So
there's also new indirect options and new artillery teams that have some really nasty flamers. Quite good into certain armies.
yes. So guard Bridgehead is very much a watch that space because it is an incredible army right now, and it's gaining reroll wounds. Can't be good for anyone involved, for sure. Now the one thing is they don't reroll full reroll hits, so on Overwatch they're a little less nasty.
Thank God for that.
Take what you can get, I suppose. The Space Marines Gladius Task Force list, played by Josh Roberts, is the very same one, I believe, that he took to LVO. So we can cover that there, but it has a bunch of tanks, right? It's got like 2 Vindicators, 2 Ballistas, like a Reaper, Calgar, Gulliman, Company Heroes, some trash, right? Stuff like that.
And it's a Gladius build, so it's relatively flexible when you need it. You can advance and shoot, you can fall back and shoot, you can advance and charge things when you need it. It just gives a player a ton of power to exercise what they need to do when they need to do it.
Yes. Innis's Blood Angel list, playing Liberator Assault Group, playing 0 Blood Angel specific units, so that he could get that +1 to wound called Bloodless Angels. He did incredibly well. He knocked out Nassim on the Bridgehead Strike, because he has a list that's very good into that kind of build. He had a bunch of infiltrators with a bunch of Phobos librarians to mean they can't. Bridgehead comes down more than 12 away and then can't shoot. It's gross. Bridgehead hates that. That is like the worst thing for Bridgehead. And then he has a ton of these small skirmishing units running around that can go up to strength 6, lance if necessary, and just absolutely cut through Bridgehead units. And in this build, he had a squad of Desolators, because Desolators could sit back on LGT terrain, get plunging fire, sit on the top of buildings, and go thunk, thunk, thunk with +1 AP, +1 to wound, standing still so they ignore cover, and full rerolls to hit. And they would just rip a Bridgehead squad off the board every single turn, win the shootout against mortars. Like,
yep.
Nassim was really hosed.
It really, really helps you go into a meta where an army wants to stage things which don't have amazing armor saves, or if they're trying to have indirect fire.
Yeah,
you just basically get to win that battle.
And then Will Whitaker, who ended up winning the whole thing. So Will ended up beating Josh Roberts and then Innis. He's playing Slanesh Demons, a big like rush down. I believe he had 2 Keepers, a bunch of Fiends, bunch of stuff.
15 Fiends, the Torment Bringer, and then Celeste, and then a variety of like Seekers and Demonettes and stuff.
Yeah, and he just rushed people down. Just, I mean, respect. Like, that's perfect.
He slammed into those Blood Angels.
He did. He just charged all of them and was just like, you're dead now. The damage output on that Legion of Excess army is crazy. If you get overwhelmed, right? If it's like, oh, they charge you and they give up their fight first and then you kill them and then they're sad. Like, that's a whole thing. But if you go in and your first fight first, like, kills half of a unit and then you lose an entire unit and then, you know, because you started in your most scary place, now you go and you like kill a fiend and then your whole army disappears. Like, that's bad.
So one thing to note about, like, I watched the games, and one thing I noticed was, the traditional Blood Angel style that we might have seen a couple months ago with Liberator Soul Group, with the 10-man death companies and big Sanguinary Guard or whatnot. That style has shifted to much more MSU. And so when you're like 5 dudes, 5 JPI, or 5 Stern Guard,
off the charge critically in Liberator,
100%. All of a sudden, it's actually not bad giving up fight first.
No.
They're going to hit you. They're going to do some amount of damage, but it was nowhere near enough to really matter.
No, Fiends, if you're swinging at Fiends with JPI, right, like you're hitting on 4s because they're an aura of -1 to hit. And then you hit them on 4s and you win them on 5s. Like, you're not doing a lot of damage there.
So giving up the fight first in a meta where, like 10 Death Company are going to slam you, that's a lot. It's a different proposition.
There's not really a way to get around that. You just have to fight first and hope you kill them.
But when he has like 10 squads of 5-man Space Marines, which is amazing into other trade armies, it actually had a big weakness there.
Yep. And Liberator is MSU, but can only fall back and charge with one thing a turn. Whereas the Legion of Excess can fall back and charge with its whole army. So that gets, and also once it gets into your squishy backline, it's over, because suddenly giving it the fight first has no downsides. Like, if they charge infiltrators, like, oh yeah, take your best shot, mate, and then you die.
I will say one other thing that I noticed from the player interviews and just the discourse around the event was the Space Marine players lived and died by the Vindicator damage against big targets. And sometimes D6 shots, into things with invulns and, feel no pains. All of a sudden, there was a key moment where Innis really needed to take down the second keeper. Did not do it, and that ended up being a huge swing factor.
I mean, that's kind of the thing about keepers. They're very swingy to try and take down because they've got a lot of wounds. They got a reasonably high toughness, and then they've got that 4-up invuln, 5-up feel no pain. There's a lot of chances for the dice to spike and say you did very little damage. Because it's got a high toughness, you need to put weapons into it that are low quantity of shot, high strength, and that means that you can just get binged on the 4-up invuln and oops, sorry, you did no damage.
And so we saw, when we move towards the LVO meta, we're going to see an increasing amount of anti-tank options. I think Innis went to 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts, and I believe Josh added a third one into his list. So
Ballistas are very good with the +1 to wound because suddenly they're wounding on 2s with everything, and then they reroll hits. So they get really nasty. They just put a bunch of saves on a keeper. They just do, right? Hitting on 4s, full rerolls, wounding on 2s, take saves, please.
Take those saves.
Yeah.
All right. Then if we look, so that was the top 4. And if we think about some of the armies we've been ranking towards the top, I don't know if we expect, Celestial Demons has really good rules, but they are monodimensional in that they have one style. Mm-hmm. However, that style worked really well in this UKTC meta.
Listen, rushing people down is a very viable way to play the game. It is pretty strong if you can do it well.
Hit hard, have big stats.
Yep, and find the right connections, find the right engagements, find the right way to get in on your opponent, and you can go 7-0 in Nottingham Super Major.
Yeah, Will layered his pressure really well. He had the first layer, which was enough of a commitment to do damage to the front line and pick up those cheap resources, and also enough to force them to basically send a lot of stuff. In response, he then rapided the second keeper and sent the entire second wave. And at that point, he was always ahead in resources.
Yeah, so and even if he loses on resources, he's ahead on points. It's a strong strategy if you can do it well.
Yep. So let's look at some of the lists that were undefeated that didn't make the top cut. And remember, it was only 4 players. And whoever had the most points, which means if you happen to play against another top class player and you beat them, you might still just have a lower, maybe you got a 70-point win instead of a 100-point win. And that meant, you don't make it anymore. So it's a really tough format. And it's the fact that some of these players are almost always in that top 4 shows you how good they are, because it's not easy to smash opponents.
Yep. Chaos Demons are a very good way to make top 4 of an event like this, because if you go all in on people repeatedly, you're going to get high scores when you win.
So, next up, that didn't make the top cut, I believe this was Brian Sife's Orcs with Tactical Brigade, and he was running the 3 Breaka Boys, the 3 Tank Buster units, the Shock Attack Gun, the Flash Git unit. He had a 10-man and a 5-man, the 10-man with the Mech Captain. This is a new nasty archetype for Orcs. Orcs actually are one of the hardest shooting armies out there in Tactical. And this list did nasty damage on stream against the Custodes Dreadnought build.
Yeah, that matchup sucks.
It was heinous. Bad. Yeah, because he had all the squig mines for the Wardens. It was like, oh, you want to pop your 4 Pheno Pain in the in the
do
movement phase?
Do you want to pop it in the movement phase when I have so many rockets?
And then it's like, do you want to pop in the shooting phase when I have all these Breaka Boys in front of you? And he's just like, when do I pop this Pheno Pain?
Right, because he doesn't have to throw the squig mines if he pops the Pheno Pain in the movement phase. So he just throws squig mines at something else. But if he doesn't pop it in the movement phase, it's like, hey, why didn't you lose a Warden? Hey, why didn't you lose a Warden? Hey, lose a Warden. Hey, oh, you're dead. Sorry.
So this list has a ton of tools. It's got fantastic units. It's a mix of shooting and combat, and it's relatively MSU as well. It's a lot of 5-mans with character attached instead of larger squads that you might see with Orcs.
It's just a really good list. It's very fine-tuned, right? It has exactly the units you want and no more. But man, 3 squads of Breaka Boys with war bosses, 3 squads of tank busters with shock attack gun mechs, and then the flash gate unit, just from your opponent's nightmares.
Trash. I talk about Slanesh Demons not wanting a profile like that.
I feel rips apart fairly confident that Brian would have had a really good matchup into that Legion of Excess.
So Orcs really well. This is one of their better performances, and I expect if Brian made the top cut, he definitely had a shout to win the whole thing. Yeah. Then there was a Leagues of Votann list. I'm not actually sure what was in the Leagues of Votann list. Can you just pop that up?
Probably Votann units, if I had to guess.
Yes.
I'll pull it up.
Is it Is it more shooting archetype? Is it have a ton of berserks in it? Or is it a kind of mixed one? I'm not sure. I know the WTC style list.
It is. Well, the list title is Wishing Berserk's Got Battle Line.
So it's going to have 25, probably 30.
Iron Master, Einhir Champion, 10 Warriors, 4 Sagittars.
Okay.
Some of them have the L7 missile launcher. So that's cool. It's got
extra range.
Okay. 6 Thunderkin, 3 Thunderkin, 3x5 Berserks, 5 Hearthguard, 1 Land Fort, and 3 units of 3 Pioneers, unit of Jaegers. Very mixed.
So it's very mixed. It's quite MSU. It has, once again, it has a lot of resources. Those 4 Sagittars have split up the 2-troop units, and also have 5-man Berserks in them.
Yep.
There's a lot of units here. A lot of units.
And he still has that counterpunch of the full rerolls to wound Hearthguard unit that comes out and goes.
Yeah, it's like you put some horde unit out there, you put that large brick of like 27 Kriegers out there, and it's like, okay, cool. Sus 2.
It's gone.
Blast.
Sustained 2, hitting on 2s, +1 to wound, full rerolls to wound, die.
Yep. 5d6 blast shots.
Yeah.
So that's a really solid list. I'm assuming the Biosanctic is also relatively MSU. So we're seeing a lot of armies that have a good amount of resources, a lot of trade pieces, and have units that punch above their weight class for their points.
MSU is the name of the game, especially into a meta like Bridgehead, where Bridgehead can drop on you and just kill you. You don't want to take big units, because big units just get killed and screen one area of the table. So if you have 2 units that are in 2 areas of the table, Bridgehead drops, kills one of them, you still have a resource to counterpunch. So into metas like that, it's a pretty big deal, although you can see that Will Whitaker punished that very heavily. His army is great into MSU because MSU can't punch back enough to dissuade the demons from just giving up their fight first and then rerolling hits and wounds. And then because it's also MSU, if you run into a unit that can kill you, if they're a small unit, you just don't give up your fight first and, oh, look, you're still dead because you're a small unit.
Yep,
right?
100%. Then we had a Chaos Knights Lance. How many War Dogs we got?
A lot, I would assume. Chaos Knights actually, I think, are very good. They just don't have as many high caliber players as other armies, I would say.
They do really like playing into MSU trade armies. They don't like damage stat checks that can pick up enough Chaos Knights.
They don't, but they do love MSU. Carnivore. 6 carnivores, I think. Yeah, I can count. 6 carnivores.
6 carnivores, 6 brigand?
6 carnivores, 1 executioner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brigands, and a stalker, and a squad of nurglings. So it's still 13 war dogs. I think you just downgraded a brigand to a stalker to get a squad of nurglings. Fair enough.
And it's the index for Knights of Shade?
Yeah, Traitoris Lance.
Okay.
Yeah. List title, I'll have war dog spam. How original. With extra demon allies. Daring today, aren't we?
Honestly, it's impressive to make it 5-0 with Chaos Knights, because, out of the 5 games that you play, usually there's going to be some ludicrous, like Space Marine Gunline or something crazy that Chaos Knights just struggle into.
I'll be honest, I have a theory right now, and I think that Chaos Knights are actually good into Marines.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is they have 13 units in front of the Space Marine army that are all kind of tough to kill. And so you can oath 1 and kill it very easily.
Oh, so easily.
So easily. And then it gets tougher. It's tough to reliably kill Chaos Knights with Marines 1-to-1 without oath. And so what you end up happening is your Space Marine army has like 5 tanks. 1 taps a 1 knight with oath. And then the remaining tanks bring down another knight and wound the next one. And your melee finishes that off and wounds another one. And then you lose like 6 resources on your turn, and you can't put that damage by committee back into them again. And meanwhile, you're not holding primary. I think it's a great counter meta choice. Ratnuvadia took it and did incredibly well with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at something like Bridgehead and the meta game between like Innis and Nass, where they're like indirect, that is completely irrelevant here. And in fact, Chaos Knights have indirect with their top launchers.
Yep,
so they can actually shoot away these type of things.
They can pick up Bridgehead. They can pick up Bridgehead units slowly but surely. And Bridgehead can drop on them and kill 1 knight. Okay. Because the thing about Chaos Knights, again, like I think they're actually pretty good right now, is because it requires a commitment to kill 1, but they have a lot.
Yes.
So you can't just casually pick one up. It requires a focused effort. But they have 13, and until you've killed a lot of them, you're not scoring primary because you have to take battle shock checks at -1, and anytime you're wounded, not even at half, anytime you're wounded, you take them, and they're OC8. And they're very good at pressuring people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you drop on them, it requires a focused effort to kill one, but I promise you it does not require a focused effort for them to kill you back.
I imagine if any of these lists are scary, like the scariest list here is the Orcs list for Chaos Knights.
Probably, yeah. I think the Orc list I could see a reality in which the Orcs go in and the melee goes bing, 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 kills 3. And then the shooting, I could see a reality in which it kills 1.5. You just miss with your rockets, oops. And then you're in trouble. You're in trouble because you have 8 guys in front of you. I assume he leads with the crappier knights. So now you get just carnivores. You can't move block them because they'll run through walls and they move very fast. You got carnivores running at you and you got brigands running at you. And they pick up orcs at lightning speed.
Yeah, the -1 to hit from stealth isn't as important because they hit on 2s.
Yep.
The brigands.
Yeah. And I will say that the squig mines help a lot.
Squig mines and the fact that you could just pop off with the rocket, split the shock attack gun off, and just be like, okay, cool, 2, you're dead.
I could see a reality in which they kill 6 on their go turn, and that's probably a reality where the Chaos Knights don't get to win that game. But if they kill 4, the Chaos Knights are probably going to run them over. And it's like, I don't feel confident there either way. I think it does really well into the Legions of Excess. You just lead with the carnivores. You're not going to let a carnivore swing on you first.
Yeah, no. Then we have, there's a question in chat from Nicholas. Any idea when you guys will make a Grey Knights video? Yes, 100%. There's 2 coming. One is the Grey Knights State of the Faction, which is going to release next week in the War Room. And then the following week, there's going to be a Grey Knights versus Necrons game that Jack and I are going to play.
That's going to be fun.
So plenty of Grey Knight stuff coming up very, very soon.
That's right.
And to round it off, we had Necrons with Star Shatter. This was before any nerfs that they did end up receiving. Guard Bridgehead, I believe this was David Gaylord.
Same thing at LVO, actually. The nerfs came out like 2 days before LVO, so LVO didn't accept them, which was the right call.
Yeah, and then there was a Guard Bridgehead, I believe that's David Gaylord, a Death Guard list, and we're going to see quite a bit of Death Guard when we talk about LVO, and then a Dark Angels Stormlance here.
Cool. All right. Well done, guys.
Let's move on over to the LVO.
Okay, so this
one
was
the following weekend.
This one I personally know a little bit more about because that's me. That's me right there. The Blood Angels, Angelic Inheritors. So I made 3rd at this event. Very happy.
Woo, yay!
I ended up only losing to Mark Hertel, who ended up winning the whole event. That's my 1. And it was a very close game, but he ended up getting it. This was a great event. And as you can see, the top of the meta is fairly open. There's a bunch of Space Marines, but they are a bunch of different kinds of Space Marines. Innis did all right. He took nearly the same list, but he unfortunately played the Savant. He played the Archon himself, Skari, and it requires Mark Hertel to beat Skari, and unfortunately, not all of us can be that. So this event was won by Mark Hertel playing Deathwatch, an army that nobody thought was good. Hold on, let me just click right over to that.
Let me go ahead and open. Whoops, I'm on the wrong one.
No, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I ruined it.
You ruined it. I was going to do it nice. Now I forget where I did it. Here it is.
There we go. Cool. An army nobody thought was good. Oh, is that our tier list?
This is Jack and I, by the way.
Is that the tier list that we did? Yeah. That has Deathwatch as one of the top 5 armies in the game? Huh.
I immediately saw after I was reading the comments, like, nobody has been talking about Deathwatch. I'm like, we were literally talking about Deathwatch since the index released.
Yeah.
There was major hype when John and I did the review for it, and then we put it on stream in the War Room. It did absolute disgusting damage, and then we ranked it really highly.
Yep. It's a very good army, and something you'll notice before we click off this, something you'll notice real quick is that the top 3 armies here are teleporting, shooting infantry armies. That's going to be a theme.
That's strong.
That's pretty strong. Now,
massively strong.
It's massively strong. If we go over to the Meta Monday page, we will see that that there's some shooting armies up at the top. Some Deathwatch and Space Marines Vanguard teleporting, shooting infantry armies. Very strong. Same thing with Host of Ascension as well, though that's got more of a smattering of the old scoring going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The top two armies are teleporting shooting armies. They're very strong. Very, very strong. So we got Mark Hertel on Black Spear Task Force. He had a big unit of Indomitor kill teams. He had a Talon Strike kill team. He had 2 5-man Terminator squads. He had a bunch of the power armor kill teams, whatever the heck they're called. And he had a bunch of characters to give him a bunch of free strats, like every single turn. So it was a very strong army. We got in a big old fight in the center of the board, and unfortunately, I barely lost that fight, which is not the best thing to have happen to you, but is what it is. It's a very strong army. It shoots way harder than those units look like they should, right? Indomitor kill team with strength 11 multi-meltas, right? Or somehow they have a heavy bolter that goes up to strength 7, AP 3, damage 3, lethal, and sustained. That's not a heavy bolter. That's a plasma cannon, a heavy plasma cannon, but it's a heavy bolter, I've been assured. It's pretty good. Then we got the Space Marine Vanguard from Ben Neal. Did very well. It's basically a standard Space Marine Vanguard teleporty list from what I remember. I did not end up playing against him, so I didn't end up looking at his list. But it's got the Brick of Centurions, and it's got Inceptors, and it's got the whole 9 yards, right? It's a good army. So no, it didn't go anywhere, right? It's still a teleporting, hefty shooting army, like, okay. And it gets the +1 to wound off of the oath change, which is quite nice.
One of the interesting things here is that with Nottingham, it was set terrain. You go into the event, you know exactly what layouts you're going to play on and which rounds. So you can pre-plan everything.
Yeah.
LVO, on the other hand, had a variety of different table setups in the different areas of the event, right? Mm-hmm. There was like a WTC section, there was a frontline section, and then there was a GW side.
Yep, and it was random which one you got because it was tables were not based off of player performance, at least until day 2. And even there, it was random which of the tables you'd receive. So you basically had to prepare for 3 different terrain formats. In addition, once we got to top 8, they would pick the layout, the mission, the deployment, all of that right before the round. So we had no idea, even going into a round, what the terrain format was going to be, right? Like, I played him on table 8. Devastators are crap on table 8, but he doesn't like teleporting on table 8. Neither one of us were like super pleased with that. I played into Chaos Cult, Derek Apshay. I played him on layout 4, kill points. Why not? You know,
it's like the best mission.
It's the best mission. They just came up to us and were like, "You're playing layout 4." And we're like, "Okay, that wasn't in the pack, but let's go with it and let's do it." So that was interesting. Then there's my list, which is Angelic Inheritors, which I've been told that there was only one other Angelic Inheritors at that event. They did fairly well. But I've been working on that Grotmist detachment. Ever since it came out, I've been deep in the Blood Angel mines because I didn't loved Liberator Assault Group. It's not really been my jam. But Angelic Inheritors came out and I put it on the table and I was like, oh, this seems good. And I've been just refining it, and it's very fun, super good army, very dynamic, and still hits very, very hard. So it's great. I mean, it did very well. Then we got Floof Cox on Host of Ascension, ended up dropping to Ben Neal, which is why I am above them in the rankings, is because I lost to Mark, and Floof lost to Ben. So that's why they're down.
This is 100 or 120 bodies GSC.
A million. I don't.
It was 100 plus, and that it has Host of Ascension has a stratagem where if you shoot at one of those units, after the activation they go back into reserve. So if you are playing, Space Marine gunline that has las cannons and ballistas dreadnoughts, or Vindicator.
Yeah, you're just not killing the
You'll
whole
kill
thing.
a bunch of nonsense. You'll kill some of the crap guys, and then they just go back into reserve.
I did not want to play Floof. The T3 armies with 1 million bodies are not what my army was good into. I left that to Ben Neal. He can take care of that for me. But yeah, Floof did very, very well, and it was great to meet them at the event.
And then we had Drukari here, Mr. Skari, the Archon, on a one-man mission to get Drukari nerfed, the most nerfed army over the last 4 months.
Somehow. His list title was "I'm not going to stop till the plane's 300."
And the plane did some nasty work. This was the Void Raven bomber. So
he explained how he used it to me, and I was like, that would have been annoying to deal with.
I believe Scary was on 5 or 6 stream games. Like, he was on the first one, and he just didn't stop being on stream. He was on so many stream games. So if you're wondering, how the heck does this guy win with Drukhari? How much does player skill matter in 40k? Go ahead and go watch those games, and you'll understand.
Scari's incredible, man. If he played a better army, he'd be a terror. And he still is a terror.
He is a terror.
Yeah. It's just, he's so good. He just plays Drukhari.
I believe it's very similar to when I have done well with AdMech at an event. This is the same exact thing, because the next placing Drukhari list, I believe, was around 110 placing. And that's the same thing at Worlds. I finished 8 at Worlds, and the next AdMech list was like 115.
Yeah.
It's just like, some armies are just really not easy to play.
Some armies, and he is the true faction expert, right? He only plays Drukhari unless Team Canada slaps him on the wrist and says, you're playing Necrons now, in which case he did well with that. So he knows that list inside and out. He knows exactly, what to do with the army and how to play it. Scary played into Bridgehead, played by Nemo the fish, Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley St. Hines.
Yeah, Wesley St. Hines. And he used, it was on kill points, and Wesley had mortars. And he beat him. Like, he brought the plane in. He kept all of his little stuff in reserves, except the stuff that he knew could tank the mortars. And then he rapided ingressed the plane in, went over, split fire 3 different ways, picked up all 3 mortar squads, and now suddenly Wesley doesn't have mortars, and he's staring down kill points against an army that can fight and get back in boats. And he just masterfully navigated that path. And Scari's the GOAT. They need to nerf him, not Drukhari, is really where it's at.
That is a fact. So great job to Scary. Also want to point out that if you're ever wondering, how do you play at a tournament? Like, what kind of etiquette, how to be a good opponent? Guess what? Scary is the prime example of that, and all those stream games demonstrate it. So great example for how to play the game.
Scari's a gent. We got Josh Roberts on Gladius Task Force. Very similar list to the one that he played at Nottingham. As you said, I think he added a ballistas.
I think there was a slight swap.
He did have 3 ballistuses at this event. He ended up playing Nick as well as Folger Piles. And ended up ending both of their runs. So he's a very, very good player.
And he won the ITC with this performance.
He won the ITC off this. So he is incredibly good. And the army is very scary. It shoots hard. It hits hard in combat. It's durable because a lot of its stuff has a 2-up save. And it's Gladius, so it has a suite of some of the best rules in the game. So yeah, if you wanna play generic Marines, like just Ultramarines very, very, very well, that's what you want to check out.
He ended up losing the mirror to Vanguard, right?
He did end up losing the Ultramarines mirror to the Vanguard list.
I guess the extra mobility shining through there.
Yeah. Also what you'll see a lot of the time is that, like, a game's a 50-50 and somebody wins on that day. Mm-hmm. And on that day, Ben was the player who won it. Yeah.
You can't really play a defensive game against Vanguard because of their mobility.
They'll just pick you off.
And so I imagine if it was defensive game, like, Josh had to come out at some point.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to watch that. I was busy playing my own game. We've got Chaos Space Marines Packbound. Just a heavy shooting list. This
is all vehicles, right?
All vehicles. It's like an Abaddon castle, but with no Abaddon. But 2 Hellbrutes. So it's, Packbound to get lethal sustained 5s with the Hellbrutes and just rain shots on your opponent. Very nasty list. And then we had Chaos Cult, which is the list I ended up beating in the quarterfinals. Played by Derek Apshay. Very good game. That one's actually on War Games Live if you want to go check that out. But managed to kill my way through the army and come out the other side.
A lot of cult bodies.
Harvested a lot of points off of his corpse at the end of the game. But it took a long time for me to do that, right? Like, it took several turns for me to get through it. So it's a scary list. It really is. And it can catch you by surprise if you're not careful. Because, like, you can go into it thinking, I got a 2-up save and Armor of Contempt. It's fine. And then they make you take 36 saves. And you're like, oh, this isn't fine. This is not fine at all, actually. I'm getting a 2-up, but I'm dead. So, yeah, no, it was a great game. And very happy to have that. And then we have all the armies that dropped in the shadow. We have Death Guard, played by Don Houston, I believe.
Yep.
Thousand Suns, played by TJ Lanigan. Space Marines, Iron Storm, played by, oh my God.
The player that you played against.
Oh, that's right. Conan Jennings. That was him. Yeah. I was like, I don't remember an Iron Storm.
No, you literally played it. It's also on stream.
It's also on War Games Live. Conan was a very good opponent. That was a very fun game. It ended up coming down to the very last die roll. So if you want to
watched that.
Yeah. It was an incredible game. So I'm excited to play Conan Jennings in the future. All right. We got another Plague Company. We got another Gladius Task Force. Another Plague Company. What's going on here?
I'm surprised with how much Death Guard made the top here. Now, on the other hand, the Death Guard archetypes that we've seen are really good into melee armies. And all of a sudden, at a big event, you happen to play against some of these more MSU melee armies, and you just reap them.
Yeah.
You just reap them.
You're just doing reaping
and
stuff.
So it's surprising that 3 made the top cut, but Death Guard have been like sneaky good for a while. It's really easy to underestimate the army, is what I would say.
If you feel comfortable playing into Plague Company, you're going to get killed.
It's an army where you get close to them, they do infinity damage, make charges, do all sorts of things. And if you're an army that relies on a lot of 2 damage combat or even 3 damage combat, you're going to do almost 0 damage in combat because they're going to be -2.
Bad matchup if you want to go combat into them. The last 2 I want to call out are we got Brian Doherty over on World Eaters. I think he does the Red Path. So he's a World Eaters like main.
Yep. He did really well at Worlds too.
Very, very good work. And then we've got Matt Evans on Assimilation Swarm of all things. He ended up losing to Josh Roberts. But it was, from what I remember, it was a reasonably close game until it wasn't, if that makes sense. Like it was up in the air and then things did not go his way. And then he lost to Josh. So it was a very, very hard fought top 16, I'll say, from shadow round into quarterfinals, semifinals, and whatnot. And congratulations to Mark Hertel for taking the whole thing. Biggest tournament ever, from what I remember. It was about like 1,060 people, 1,000 something like that. Yeah. So very proud that I got 3rd. Very proud of my run there, and congratulations to Mark Hertel. Congratulations to everyone who made Shadow. Honestly, even people who didn't, like we had Legion of Excess and Cao Yan there, who went 6-0, but unfortunately could not attend the Shadow round.
Yep,
just because of real life issues. So that's why you see like Death Guard, Plague Legion being called up, or Death Guard Plague Company being called up, even though they were X and 1, is because Legion of Excess and Cao Yan could not be there.
All right.
And for everyone in the chat, we will get to all your super chats at the end of the video.
We see them. We will be answering them in just a second. We're going to finish off with the last event here, which happened this past weekend, I believe. Uprising Adelaide in Australia.
So if we look at the top lists, I know that our very own Matt Marsoli,
the Thunder from Down Under.
That's right, varsity athlete Matt Marsoli, won the whole thing with Scintillating Legion, and Matt is cracked. This is the
Zinj detachment.
That's right. It is a very Scary sort of situation. They need to nerf him, but I don't think Scintillating Legion is like insane or nothing, but I think Matt is crazy with an army that lets you express a lot of player skill. So that's where you're going to get there. We got a Deathwatch player on Black Spear. That's Callum German. We got Josh Brody on Space Marines. What is that?
It's Raven Guard, it says.
What?
Well, Raven Guard get the buff where if you have Strike, I believe, you get
he does
2 OC JPI.
Yeah, so he has 3 units of JPI. And he has the squad of Centurions that are... So it's a Vanguard Spearhead list. They don't deep strike, but they do teleport around the sides of the board. And he has JPI that are OC2. That's interesting. God, Australia always has the weirdest meta.
Yeah, there's something to be said about playing something people aren't experienced playing against. Because the first time, you almost never nail it.
Yeah.
Like against a unique list.
It helped me a lot with the Blood Angels. Afterwards, people were saying a lot of like, oh, I should have done this differently. And I'm like, probably, yeah.
Then there was a Gladius Task Force list, which was
Lachlan Booth.
I assume kind of the normal Gladius we've been seeing. Then Grey Knights Warpbane. What's the Grey Knights? Is it a Dread Knight spam build or is it an MSU build?
It is.
This is the highest placing Warpbane list, I believe.
Drago with 10 Terminators. We got 5 Strikes, 2 Dread Knights, 5 Paladins with what looks like a Brother Champion. and then with brother captain, and then Castle and Crow with a unit of 10 purifiers, and then 2 units of 5 purifiers.
Really interesting list.
Very interesting list.
It's kind of a tool for everything.
Yeah.
So this I believe is the highest placing Warpbane list that has happened. Then Necron's Awakened Dynasty. That'll make Walter Langendorf's heart sing.
It will. It will.
And then Tyrannid's Invasion Fleet. This is one of the highest Tyrannid placings that we've seen alongside Assimilation Swarm at LVO. So do you want to read through Matt's list? Just because I don't know if people have many chances to play against Tzeentch.
Sure. So Matt's list was a Demon Prince of Chaos with wings. So Winged Prince with the melee enhancement to make him hit harder. I forget exactly what stats it gives him, but it's like +1 to every melee
Tzeentch
stat.
is hilariously bad at melee. Having something that can do damage in
It does real
combat
damage. It's like +1 attack, AP, damage to hit. Like it's +1 to everything basically. Then they have Fate Weaver. Then he has Fate Weaver. Then he has a Lord of Change with the enhancement lets you shoot through friendly models that are nearby. It's very helpful because you can sit him behind a wall and then poke things out to shoot. So the unit has to be within 9, and then it sees through any model in that unit, so you can string way out and see and start shooting. He's got 2 squads of Pink Horrors, a squad of Plague Bearers, 2 Burning Chariots to shoot, take space, and turn off cover.
Yep, they strip cover.
2 squads of 6 Flamers of Tzeentch, and 1 squad of 6, 2 squads of 3 Screamers. Not a ton of stuff in that list, but
it wasn't just pure like Pink Horror spam where you have 6 units of them just slam down. So very interesting kind of toolkit Tzeentch list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I definitely didn't expect, but it's obviously Matt playing it, so anything can happen.
Matt's a wizard, and we should take that with a grain of salt.
He's been a very long time Tzeentch player. He plays Thousand Suns. He loves everything Tzeentch.
2 years ago at LVO, I remember he got like 3rd or 4th with Chaos Demons. Yeah, so he's a demony boy.
All right. Anything you want to pull from this event? There's a lot of Marine bodies up here. Once again, we've seen that through all 3 events. There's multiple Space Marine style factions.
What I'll say about Space Marines is they have a lot of different builds doing well.
A lot of builds.
A lot of different builds. So it's not just one particular build. It's not just the Gladius. It's not just the Vanguard, right? There's multiple different types of Blood Angels doing well. There's Death Watch doing well. There's Dark Angels doing well. There's, friggin' Raven Guard doing well. There's Ultramarines. There's a lot of different types. Now, we're not seeing a lot of Space Wolves. So that's a thing. And we're not seeing any... we saw Raven Guard, but we're not generally seeing a lot of Codex compliant Marines that aren't Ultramarines, because Ultramarines generally are Codex compliant Marines with better options. But generally, you're seeing a lot of different detachments, a lot of different builds. And so that means that a lot of different archetypes doing well right now.
One thing I'll note here from the 3 different events is there is not that much bridgehead up at the top. You had Nas at Nottingham, and then David Gaylord was 5-0. And then at LVO, not a single bridgehead player made it, right?
No. Now, to be fair, the 2 probably nastiest bridgehead players in the event, the 2 probably scariest ones, ended up playing each other in round 2 or whatever. So Nas got knocked out by Wesley. And then Wesley happened to lose a game in Discari. So in an alternate dimension, very similar to our own, it would not be crazy that both of them would have made top 8. It didn't happen to happen,
If you look at some of the missions that they've lost on as well, it's missions where the primary is not scored on your home objective. Yeah. And if you happen to play against an aggressive army and can't hold down primary, it doesn't matter that you end up tabling them. You just don't score enough points. Yeah. So that's definitely a weakness that we've seen for those lists. All right, let's dive into all of the Super Chats. Thank you so much. If you do have questions for us, please do let us know. And Super Chat, we'd be happy to answer them. So starting off here, we have Walker99. Thanks so much for the £5 Super Chat. Watching the Worm every day. Thanks, Richard, for sorting out my Discord access so quickly. I'd recommend it to all. Thank you so much, Walker. Glad you're joining us, and glad I was able to help you. Thank you so much for your recommendation, and enjoy all the content in there. Warmaster Art, £5 Super Chat. Thank you so much. Congrats for LVO Hack. I guess he means Jack.
I think you are
Hack.
I'm Hack Jarpster.
Hack Jarpster. Teleporting shooting armies. Why are Hypercrypt Necrons not up there?
Well, I think there's 2 reasons. 1, I think people are sleeping on Hypercrypt. I think Hypercrypt is amazing. And people just are not taking it. I think Hypercrypt is significantly better than Star Shatter, in my opinion, because Hypercrypt can actually get to you and can actually get behind you and can actually, just teleport to get where it needs to go. Whereas Star Shatter's like weaving its way up the board, unable to use its broken rules as it tries to, get to you, right? Like it just can't use its brokenness in the way that Hypercrypt can, because Hypercrypt can teleport. The second reason is because I knocked it out. There's a very good, I want to say Jonathan Lee, I will double check. Very good Hypercrypt player who was undefeated. I think he was 4-0, 5-0. And I ended up playing him and had a very close win in that at LVO. And he was one of the only Hypercrypt players who was, playing the army. I'm going to double check if that was his name because my memory is spotty at best, but it was a really good game. But yeah, I think people are sleeping on Hypercrypt pretty severely.
I disagree. I think Hypercrypt has been nerfed enough at this point. So they've lost in the last update, they lost one of their teleporting units. So now they can only pick up 3 max with the enhancement. So you still have to bring a useless character just to try and teleport 3 units. Then the second and the much more impactful change is that DDAs are still inconsistent. You'd see 2 to 3 of them as the final damage in a Hypercrypt list. But the main damage was coming from monoliths because they have a consistent number of shots.
In the Silent King.
And unfortunately, 6-inch Deep Strike is a lot worse than 3-inch Deep Strike for something the size of monoliths. And so depending on terrain format, it's really not that easy to fit them. And I think they have much harder counters matchups out there. Like, where are you ever going to land monoliths against an AdMech army? It's just not happening. I'm sorry.
To be fair, he didn't use them for aggressive teleporting in my game. He mostly used them to slingshot infantry around and just post up, like seeing a decent percentage of the board on his side of the board. And I still had to screen them out, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he just kind of like moved them forward and then touched a bunch of terrain so he could see through and just went, if you want to get in a direct shootout with me, that is up to you, Chief.
And the last point is I think the +1 to wound on Oath and the prevalence of Space Marines means that monoliths just aren't that tough in the meta right now.
I would say Vindicators with Oath are a big problem for them.
Yep.
Because then they hit on 3s, full rerolls, wound on 2s.
Ballistus Dreadnoughts, the Centurion unit from Vanguard just will delete one with +1 to wound. So I think the meta has shifted in a way that's not that helpful for Hypercrypt, and then I think they actually received a really significant nerf, and one less teleporting thing is pretty big in my opinion for the shooting style.
That's fair. I will say I still think it's better than Star Shatter because I think Star Shatter's massively overhyped. It just doesn't score points.
Well, we ranked it solid tier, and people were, or Necron solid tier, and people
ranked it like middle of the pack.
People were like, how? And then you see it.
They just aren't.
Where are their super major wins?
Yeah, their best placement is Awakened Dynasty.
Ryan G, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Ryan. Question for Jack, the resident Harlequin expert. Do you think Reaper's Wager is significantly better with the datasheet changes to
Yes.
Quinn?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, their cost went up. It did go up a little. But yeah, their datasheets now do things rather than not doing things.
What we were seeing with Drukari was you take Reaper's Wagers, but you don't bring any Harlequins. You just toss out the idea that they have a detachment rule. You just take it for 6 good strats.
Yeah, they might sometimes, if they're trying to go all in on Haywire, take a bunch of bikes, but that's it.
Now you can actually use the Harlequin units, and it's significantly improved, I would say.
They actually hit, because they have dev wounds all the time. They have better AP. They have a better datasheet rule on just the troops. Troop Masters are completely different and much, much better. And then Void Weavers. Also, Void Weavers with reroll 1s to hit and wound are legitimately very scary, and you can't shoot them over 18 inches. They're way better. Way better.
Quinn is going to put it on the table in a couple weeks.
Cool.
We got Redrum, €5 super chat. Thanks so much, Redrum. So what, in addition to Drukari, needs nerfs, and what needs some buffs? Do you think there are some armies and builds that are not explored yet? In terms of armies that need nerfs, I think it's pretty clear from these. Deathwatch, the Space Marine, especially Ultramarines, I think are too strong. I think Raven Guard are fine, but
Raven Guard can probably stay.
Raven Guard can stay, but
it's probably okay.
I really think that they were trying to buff you running like a Firestorm list and those type of style lists, not Ultramarines. Ultramarines just have the best characters from Space Marines. Yeah. They've been good this entire time. They made the top cut at Worlds before any buffs, so I think they definitely need nerfs. I would say. Outside of that, Guard, the Bridgehead. We haven't seen the full power of it, but you're about to whenever the Codex is officially played at events.
You've also seen it warping the meta a little bit. There's a lot of people taking Infiltrators. There's a lot of people taking 12-inch no-go zones just to stop it. and it just hasn't shown up in like massive numbers because it is kind of a finicky army to play, right? It requires a certain kind of weirdo to want to play that army. But if you play across from that weirdo, it's gonna. I mean that in an endearing way. It's gonna suck. You're gonna get shot a lot. But it does require a person who really likes putting down 15 models like 7 times during the game and lining up. Ooh, my plasma guns are gonna go here. My melt guns are gonna go here, and then shooting them. And then picking the whole thing up on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, Ben Jerk was really close to making the top cut at LVO with his Bridgehead.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, what do you think needs buffs? So I would definitely lean towards. I think Drukhari do need buffs. Skari notwithstanding, personally.
Yeah. If I just look at our little tier list,
I'll go put it up for us.
Yeah, I mean, Imperial Knights definitely need them. Sisters, if you want to have a fun stat from LVO weekend, would you like to know what record you would need to be an above average Sisters player on LVO weekend?
4-1.
To be an above average, you would need to be 2-6.
2-6.
They had a 24%.
They had barely any players. They had like 12 players.
Massive faction abandonment for sure.
Yeah.
But if you went 1-4,
I guarantee you I could easily
1-3.
have a winning record with Sisters with their current book. Easily.
Sure. That's player skill mattering. Yeah.
I'm saying that they're not the worst army in the game.
They're not the worst army in the game. They definitely had some faction abandonment, but I do think they could stand to take some buffs. I think they did get over nerfed looking at it now. Tau maybe a little bit, although we had a guy go 6-0 with Kalyan, I mean,
I genuinely believe Tau needs buffs. I need the split fire penalty needs to go, and I personally think that it would be for like Kalyan and Monka. Kalyan, you should have sustained 1 the entire game. And then for Monka, you should have access to the assault all game.
I think Khorne Demons also need a pretty sizable boost. They just don't have enough units to make their game plan work. I think they just need to drop in points some.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think it's mostly like specific data sheets. There's the internal balance of some of the books can definitely use some help. Some units are just too obvious, too good. Some units are just never seen.
Oh, a nerf I really want to see, because I'm seeing the sketchiest things pop up. I want to see Oath go to you. It needs line of sight. At least to get the +1 to wound, you need line of sight. Because I'm seeing people just starting to take Desolators and starting to take like Whirlwinds and stuff like that. And it's like, oh God, please no. Please stop. Please, yes, you have double Oath and +1 to wound and your full rerolls to hit, so it cancels out the indirect. Oh my God, what are we doing? So that's my thought.
Yeah. Then we have Hage. Thanks so much for your Swedish kroner, I believe is the 50 Swedish kroner super chat. I'm pleasantly surprised to see Crusher Stampede list pop up in the X and O, X and 1 brackets. Hoping for more NID event wins and top 8s in the future. I think NIDs are one of the best internally balanced armies based on detachment. They have multiple viabilities. I think right now John is most hyped on Vanguard Tyranids.
Interesting.
And the speed. He's been playing them a lot recently in the War Room, and they've been doing really nasty things. Borns, thanks so much for your $10 super chat. Watching LVO, I was jealous of Jack with a flavorful, strong BA detachment he could do well and have fun with. I wish Dark Angels had something like that. Our best are still generic Space Marine ones. Makes me sad.
Yeah.
Your data sheets are crazy good, though.
I did play into somebody trying out Company of Hunters with a lot of bikes. It was not good. It wasn't that good.
You have really good Dark Angel specific data sheets, though. That's the silver lining. But yeah, their detachments themselves are not amazing. It's hard to beat Gladius. Stormlance is quite solid. We have Matt with a super chat here. Thanks so much, Matt. What's Jack's thoughts on Reaper's Wagers with new Harlequins?
I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I think the nice thing about Reaper's Wager, now that you have real data sheets on both sides of the aisle, is that it takes the pressure off of Drukhari data sheets to do all of the heavy lifting. I don't think you can make a 2,000 point list with only Drukhari data sheets that you are thrilled to be taking, right? I think once you max out on the data sheets you want, then you're taking data sheets because, 2,000 points. And so to be able to have a larger pool of units that will do heavy lifting is pretty huge for that army. I'm not a Dark Elder specialist, but that has been what it looks to me when I've looked at it. Because I have looked at, there is the pure Harlequin detachment. I've also looked at what does it look like if I just play my Harlequins as Reaper's Wager and just pretend Reaper's Wager is a Harlequin detachment. It's interesting.
All right. So then we have Gabriel Roth. Thanks so much for your $5 super chat. Spent yesterday hobbying and catching up on y'all's streams. Jack, that game last week was heartbreaking. The bikes are so cool, but why are they so bad? Those are Custodes bikes.
Man, they did suck. They did suck quite a lot. I think the main issue is that they still aren't a full shooting and combat threat by themselves is a real issue. They're easy to whittle down. They're tough to move around the board. They're really annoying to move around the board. Their spears stick off at weird angles, so you can't really hide them. And then their shooting is just super unreliable, even still, right? It will so rarely kill a tank. And so you need to either have two in the same place to probably kill a tank, possibly kill a tank, at which point that's like 500 points almost, and it does get killed fairly easily. So it's like, I don't know, man. They need defensive buffs. Like, really is what it is. They need like strats they can use. They need something. And just relying on your data sheet alone is kind of rough when they're just, T7, 204 at 5 wounds. Like, okay, that does die in today's meta. Like
at least we know they're looking at bikes and paying attention, that they're a data sheet. So we're at step one. We're at step one here. Scott Nagel, thanks so much for your super chat. Indirect back because of Eldari seems the answer. It's been back before Eldari, so it's going to stay.
It definitely helps.
Definitely going to stay.
It was cool to meet Scott at LVO. Hope your trip back was easy.
Got Redrum here with a €2 super chat. Jack, how to beat Eldar part 2 for Jack Theory, please.
I'll work on it. The codex is completely different to how the index plays. So it's going to require a learning curve.
There's so many builds in there too.
So many builds, and all the tricks are different, right? So I'll get back to you on that.
Graham Banner, thanks so much for your £5 super chat. Pure Harlequins viable, or do you need to add in a little normal elf buddies? If so, what units?
I think you can make pure Harlequins work. I think they have enough units to where you can do that. I think you are leaving some value on the table by not taking some of the Eldar data sheets that are just like good skirmish pieces. Stuff like Shroud Runners are really good at buffing your shuriken cannons that you have a Gorillion of. Right, you fire the Shroud Runner, suddenly you ignore cover. Now you shoot all the Shuriken cannons at AP1 ignores cover. Same with Warwalkers potentially, right? You hit a target, now your AP2 ignores cover, lethal hits on all your Shuriken cannons, and they're just good skirmish pieces as is. So I think you're leaving a little value on the table if you don't do stuff like that. Like you can take Lycus if you want. I think she might be a little too pricey for that detachment, but she can run up and be like lethal 5s for all your Shuriken cannons on something, and then you will shoot them to death. But, I think you're leaving a little value on the table if you don't take at least like Shroud Runners or something like that. But it's not a big deal. If you want to take pure Harlequins, you can.
Then we have R4K. Thanks so much for joining the War Room Bronze. Really appreciate your support, and welcome to the War Room. And then finally, we have Redrum here with a €2 super chat. Give Custodes Transhuman and Tanglefoot grenades back. Well, guess what? Guard have Tanglefoot grenades. It's a stratagem, I believe, in the Recon detachment. It just says Tanglefoot grenades.
They took Tanglefoot?
They took the Tanglefoot.
They snuck into the Emperor's palace and stole all the Tanglefoot grenades?
They did. They stole them.
That's crazy.
Then we have Siege Roots here. Thanks so much for gifting 5 Art of War memberships. We really appreciate your support. If you were generously gifted a sub, please do click that accept button so you get access to our Discord community. All you have to do is log into Discord, go to your user settings, and click connections. Click the YouTube icon, follow the steps, and sync your account. Thank you so much, Mr. Siege Root. All right, Jack, any final thoughts here?
No, that's about it.
So meta's pretty wide open right now. We're waiting for the full official launch of Guard and then Eldari, and both of those books are going to be meta defining. Yeah. So everything is going to keep changing.
Everything's going to keep changing.
But we are seeing a lot of diversity. Space Marines are kind of dominating, top 8s, but we're still seeing a lot of placings for factions across the meta, which is good.
Yeah. And at least we're not getting dominated by one type of Space Marine. At least it's different types of Space Marines. And then there are armies that can beat those Space Marines quite convincingly.
Yep. There's a lot of 7-1s for Space Marines, or 5-1s.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Jack, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you, everybody in chat, for hanging out. Please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave us a comment below letting us know what your local meta is like. What things are performing really well there? What things do you expect to perform well going into Harlequins and Aldari and Guard? And if you are excited about the new meta, definitely let us know, because this is the best time to play 40k right now. So much is viable. There's many different builds for most armies, and it's just a great time to get into the game. So if you've been thinking about it, if you haven't played a game in a while, come back, check it out, and play some 40k. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your support, and we'll see you all next time. So long for now.